Hello, my name is Teresa Lin, and I'm the chair of the physics department here at Harvey Mudd. I'm delighted that you could join us for this virtual family weekend presentation, and I hope we have a chance to host you in person sometime in the near future. Perhaps you have a first-year student, and this is the first time you've had a chance to talk with us. Perhaps you're the parent of a senior, and you have seen us several times in the past. In this presentation, I hope to touch on various aspects of a student's experience in the Harvey Mudd physics program. Just to highlight some of the images on this front slide, starting from the top right, we have a photo of me in my research lab with a couple of my former students. Moving on towards the bottom, we have Professor Jason Galicchio working with some students in a core course, I believe Physics 24 Mechanics, which your first year students will be enrolled in right now. Continuing on clockwise, we have a photo of our physics seniors in the spring of 2020 at a gathering that we managed to pull together right before the pandemic closure took effect. And finally, right around the middle, we have a photograph of current physics students, faculty, and physics alumni taken at the American Physical Society March meeting a few years ago. That's one of the largest research meetings in the field of physics, and a group of students, faculty, and alumni got together for lunch as part of that meeting. Who will your student interact with within the physics department? Certainly a community of fun and supportive other students, but also this group of faculty and staff who are pictured here. We have two amazing staff members, Vanessa Brillo, our administrative assistant, and BJ Haddad, our lab manager. And we also have the 13 faculty members pictured here. You can see that their research interests are quite broad. And so if your student has a research interest in a particular area or just wants to explore several different areas, there's a lot to choose from within our faculty here. I would also want to point out that there are a couple of our faculty members with whom your student might interact in a different capacity. Liz Connolly teaches in our department and is also the Assistant Dean for Academic Affairs. And Tom Donnelly is a physics professor who is also moving into a role as the director of our Hickson Center for Sustainable Environmental Design. So your student, if they have an interest in sustainability, might come across him in that setting as well. For those of you who may have a first-year student, what is the physics experience in the Harvey Mudd core curriculum? On this slide, I've labeled it actually the Core Plus curriculum at Harvey Mudd, which is a term that we sometimes use to talk about core courses and courses that are not in the core, but that are taken by many students at the college. There are 3 physics courses in the core at Harvey Mudd. Special Relativity, which is taken in the first semester, so your student may already have told you some stories about that course. Mechanics and Wave Motion, which is taken in the second semester, and a physics lab course taken sometime during the sophomore year. There's a 4th course that perhaps half of the Harvey Mudd student body currently takes. It's Electricity and Magnetism and Optics, which students can take typically as early as their 3rd semester, their sophomore fall. That course is certainly a prerequisite for moving on in the physics major and also some other majors, and it's recommended, though not required, in some other majors, notably the very large major of engineering. What is the philosophy of the core? What are we trying to get done? I had a conversation with a Harvey Mudd alum recently who is herself teaching physics, and she was challenged to identify in a single sentence to a new student what physics was really all about. And she and I discussed this, and we came up with the idea that physics is about modeling the natural and technological world with mathematics. It's the field of science that is most firmly wedded to the idea of making mathematical models to help our thinking about the way the physical world works and about how we can design systems ourselves. In the core, that is certainly what we work on throughout the variety of core courses, that type of modeling, developing problem-solving skills for more complex problems. What's called reasoning from first principles, that is really starting from very simple assumptions, very small in number, and seeing how much we can build up in our understanding of the natural world. And building apparatus and designing experiments to test and further our knowledge. I myself have 2 college students of my own, And when I think about this presentation every year, I tend to think about things that I would like to know as a parent about the environment in which my students are studying. So here are a few things that I would like you to know about studying physics at Harvey Mudd. One is that our department is known for what's called our open door policy. There are lots of opportunities for your student to interact with us, the faculty and the staff of the department, in formal and informal ways. We've been a little bit challenged in the last few weeks by our 2 weeks of remote opening, and before that by the pandemic closures of 1.5 years. But I would say that during this past fall, I saw the department's in-person contact and open door policy operating very much the way I've seen it traditionally operate in the past. Your student will have posted office hours for professors in their courses, but we also welcome individual appointments and drop-ins when a student walks down the hall and sees that our office door is open. I'm also happy, and I know that my colleagues are happy, to meet with students in a mix of in-person, indoor, outdoor, and Zoom settings. If your student has diverse academic and intellectual interests, physics could be a good choice for them as a Harvey Mudd major. We have several tracks within our major, from what's called our standard track to an applied physics track, astrophysics, biophysics, physics and education, computational physics, and a variety of other choices in which students can customize the physics major a little bit, depending on their own outside interests. Within the physics major, there are also relatively many free elective courses in which a student could pursue other interests within their 4 years at Harvey Mudd. I should make a slight note, as there is a note on the slide, that some of your students may be considering the joint major in mathematics and physics. And in the joint major, that is a little bit different. The joint major does not have very many free electives. Your student may be wondering, and you may be wondering, about research at Harvey Mudd. We would say absolutely yes, seek research opportunities. Doing research is a chance to find out whether you like the business of doing science, in addition to the classroom experience of being set problems to solve. So it's a wonderful thing to seek a research opportunity during your time as an undergraduate. Summer research opportunities at Harvey Mudd are currently being advertised on our undergraduate research opportunities website. So your student can look up a variety of summer research positions that are available and apply during the next few weeks, if they have not already applied in a first round that began earlier in the year. So this is a great time to think about summer research. However, I want to assure you that a physics major does not need to spend every summer of college doing research, whether at Harvey Mudd or at another university or lab. It is absolutely fine to pursue some other interests for the summer. I myself did summer research for 1 summer as an undergraduate, and that was a valuable experience, but certainly it was not necessary to do all 3. Last, I would encourage you, some of you may yourselves be physicists or scientists in other fields and already have a strong connection to the material that your student is studying. If you are not a physicist, and not even a scientist, and perhaps have never taken a science class or don't remember very much of what was in one, I would encourage you to ask your student anyway, to explain what it is they're excited about in their physics and of course other Harvey Mudd courses. Speaking as a physics instructor, it's wonderful practice for a student to explain a concept they've just learned in non-technical language, not using the crutch of jargon. So please do ask them to share their excitement about physics or another field that they're studying. If your student moves beyond the core, or perhaps is already an upper-level physics major, what are a few things I can highlight about that? Within the physics major, there are a mix of theory courses and a strong laboratory curriculum. Students are also involved in research. And in their senior year, each physics student chooses either a senior thesis, which is an academic research project, perhaps with collaborators in their research group, but under the direction of a Harvey Mudd faculty member. We see a research group down here in the bottom center of this slide, and 2 students working with Professor Sharon Gerbode over in the lower right. Senior thesis, which I've just described, is one choice as a capstone project for a physics major. Another capstone choice is what's called Physics Clinic. You may have heard about Clinic in other areas at Harvey Mudd. Clinic is kind of a Harvey Mudd signature program in which a team of 4 to 5 Harvey Mudd students, typically seniors, are actually hired, so to speak, by an outside company for an academic year to complete a project for that company. This picture in the top center is a picture of a clinic team from several years ago that worked for Lockheed Martin. The team is 4 students plus 1 or 2 faculty mentors and an outside liaison from the company who meets with the clinic team regularly to help keep them on track and provide them with reference resources for their project. As a parent, I know I would be interested to know where physics alumni go after they graduate. So what I try to do every year is look up the class that just graduated in physics from Harvey Mudd and look up the class that graduated 10 years before that. Often we already have this information, but I just try to compile information for this slide on where those alumni are now. Last year in spring 2021, we had an unusually small class. Actually, both of these classes are fairly small. On average, over many years, we have about 20 physics majors per year at the college. And if your student is a physics major right now, their class is closer to that size, 20 to 25. However, we had a very small class in 2021, possibly pandemic related. But where are they now? 9 of them have gone directly to graduate school. Some are in physics PhD programs, some are in materials science PhD programs, some are in master's degree programs in optics or quantum engineering. 2 went straight to non-academic technical jobs, and 1 is doing some tutoring and taking a gap year before starting graduate school in a program to which she's already been accepted. What about 10 years out? So right out of graduate school, this is a very high ratio. Right out of college, this is a very high ratio who have gone to graduate school. And in fact, for the class of 2021, it might be a little higher than usual. However, you can see that the class of 2011 looks a little bit different. 10 years out, 4 of these 16 alumni are in research and or teaching at colleges and universities. 12 of them are in non-academic technical careers. One works at Amazon, one at Google, one is a software engineer at Epic. Others work in renewable energy, biotechnology, quantum computing, transportation planning, and some other fields. The class of 2011, upon graduation, did not look so different from the class of 2021, in the sense that most of these alumni in the class of 2011 did go to graduate school, but this is where they have ended up 10 years out of their bachelor's degree, after finishing graduate school in most cases. Finally, a few things to know about life after graduation for a physics major. There are many other paths, including going into secondary school teaching, and of course, a variety of other fields. You can see that the bulk of our students tend to go into graduate school programs or to technical careers in industry. If your student is contemplating graduate school, it may be very important for you to know that PhD students in physics do not pay tuition, they get paid. This is generally true in STEM, but if you are not within that community, it may come as a surprise to you, and a very welcome surprise, that as your student contemplates a PhD program, this should not be an opportunity for you to think about 6 or 5 more years of paying tuition. Your students' tuition is taken care of, and they get paid a stipend, which is certainly enough for them to get by on. If your student is thinking about going into industry, you may look around and say, I don't know a lot of people whose job title is physicist. So certainly some of our members of the class of 2011, in fact, have job titles of senior physicist or research physicist. But when physics majors go into industry, often their job title is engineer. They could be a software engineer, they could also be a product engineer, optical engineer, systems engineer, or many other types of engineer. So if you look around in your community and you know people with a job title of engineer, those are certainly jobs in which physics majors are found after they graduate. I won't take up very much more of your time, but I hope this has been an informative presentation for you. There's lots more information about the physics major curriculum and all kinds of other stuff at our physics department webpage, which I've listed on this final slide. Faculty email addresses can also be found there, and I invite you to send me a message if you have a question that I didn't have a chance to address. We hope that you can visit us in person sometime soon, and if you are or become the family member of a physics major, you should begin to receive our annual newsletter in the fall, of which I've just included a screenshot of our most recent issue. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I look forward to meeting you in person sometime soon.